All right, let's get right into it. For years, pretty much everybody in the financial world has been waiting on pins and needles for the biggest IPO of our lifetime, SpaceX going public. But what if? What if everybody's got it completely wrong? What if Elon Musk has a much crazier, much more radical endgame in mind?
And that's the big question, right? A blockbuster IPO seems like a total slam dunk. I mean, it would be a historic moment for the company, for investors, for everyone. So why on earth would Musk even think about walking away from it? Well, this is where the story takes a really wild turn.
So this whole idea, this kind of out-there theory, comes from the investor Tramath Polihapatia. He's basically saying, forget the IPO. The real plan, the secret plan, is to merge SpaceX into Tesla. It's a mind-blowing prediction because it means the goal isn't to cash out, it's to consolidate everything. And it challenges everything we thought we knew about Musk's master plan.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we first need to understand something called the IPO paradox. Why would a guy like Musk, who's a master of the markets, be so against a traditional IPO for what is arguably his most important company?
You know, Musk himself has this perfect metaphor for it. He calls the pressure from public markets a tightening headband. And it makes sense, right? It's this constant squeeze, this demand for profits every 90 days. And that kind of short-term thinking is the exact opposite of what you need when you're trying to do something huge, something civilization level, like, I don't know, colonizing Mars.
So you can see the two paths laid out for him here. On one hand, a traditional IPO. That brings in a flood of new investors who are mostly focused on the next quarter, and it waters down his control. But on the other hand, this reverse merger. That lets him fuse the companies together, strengthen his grip, and keep everyone laser-focused on the long-term mission. At the end of the day, it's not about the money. SpaceX isn't hurting for cash. It's about alignment.
But this goes way deeper than just trying to avoid annoying quarterly calls from Wall Street. This is really about one thing: securing absolute control over his entire empire.
And you gotta remember what just happened. That whole massive legal fight over his $56 billion pay package, that was a serious wake-up call for him. Even though the shareholders backs him in the end, it proved that his grip on Tesla wasn't as ironclad as he thought. It showed that his control could be challenged.
And that is where this magic number comes into play, 25%. Musk has gone on record saying he needs at least this much voting power to feel comfortable pushing Tesla into its next phase of being a dominant AI and robotics company. Without it, he's worried that some activist investor could just swoop in and change the company's direction. And right now, he doesn't have it, not even close.
So how does a merger fix that problem? Well, it's actually pretty clever. It all comes down to a share swap. See, he owns a giant slice of SpaceX, which is privately held but worth an absolute fortune. In a merger, he could trade that private ownership for a huge new block of shares in the combined Tesla-SpaceX entity, and boom, just like that, he could blast right past that 25% goal.
Now, it's easy to just call this a power grab, but it's also about making things work better, way more efficiently. Think about it. No more friction between two different boards. It makes simple stuff like Tesla vehicles using Starlink super easy to handle. And yeah, it creates this fortress, as Chamath calls it, where Musk is the one undisputed leader, shielded from all the outside noise.
All right, I know what you're probably thinking. A car company and a rocket company? Really? On the surface, it sounds kind of weird, right? But if you dig just a little bit deeper, the synergy, the way they fit together technologically, is honestly incredible. Just look at this. It's like a massive R&D multiplier. The battery tech that Tesla pours billions into for its cars, that's perfect for SpaceX's satellites and future moon landers. The insane manufacturing automation Tesla's mastered for its gigafactories, that's exactly what you need to mass-produce thousands of starships. And the AI, oh man, you combine Tesla's self-driving brain with Starlink's global network? That's a game-over advantage nobody could compete with.
This quote just nails it perfectly. It means every single dollar spent on research and development is pulling double duty. So, when you're funding a Tesla Optimus robot, you're not just building a factory worker, you're building a Mars colonist. That is just an unbelievable level of strategic efficiency.
But here's the kicker. This merger, it isn't even the final step. According to this whole theory, it's just laying the groundwork for something so much bigger, the everything company. So once you have Tesla and SpaceX locked together as the foundation, what's next? Well, the other pieces of the puzzle start to fit in pretty perfectly, don't they? You fold in Neuralink for the brain-computer interface, you bring in the Boring Company for underground transport, and of course you integrate xAI, the pure AI powerhouse.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, this isn't a company anymore. It's a super ecosystem. It covers basically every important piece of future tech you can think of. It stops being about quarterly reports and starts being about, well, designing a miniature civilization.
Okay, but let's pump the brakes for a second. There's a reason this is an anti-consensus theory. It's because actually pulling this off in the real world would be insanely difficult. There are at least 3 giant roadblocks standing in the way.
First up, the regulators. I mean, are you kidding? The government would have a field day with this. You'd have a single company that dominates cars, rockets, and satellite internet. Good luck getting that past an antitrust review. Then there's the money. How in the world do you put a price on a private SpaceX versus a public Tesla in a way that makes everybody happy? That's a financial nightmare. And finally, you've got the people. Can you really smash 2 elite, very different engineering cultures together and not expect a huge clash? These are not small problems.
But here's the thing you always have to remember when you're talking about Musk. You have to understand how he thinks. For him, there are the laws of physics, and then there's everything else. All the business rules, the regulations, the red tape, that's all just stuff that can be changed. If the engineering logic says merge these companies to get to Mars faster, then you can bet he will try to move heaven and earth to make it happen.
So, where does that leave us? Let's just imagine for a second this actually happens. What does that world look like? What would it mean for investors? And how would it totally change what we even think a company is?
First off, you'd have to throw the old valuation models right out the window. You wouldn't be buying a car company anymore. You wouldn't even be buying a tech company. Your stock would basically be a bet on the entire technological arc of humanity's future. It's a piece of everything from global communications to space travel to AI. It's a whole new ballgame.
And that really is the heart of this entire prediction. It's a call to stop thinking about these as separate companies. He's not building a portfolio of businesses. He's building one massive, interconnected super organization where money and talent can flow wherever they're needed most, all pointed in the same direction, driven by one wild, ambitious vision.
So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If this all comes to pass and you own a share of this new entity, what are you really holding? Is it just a stock, a line item in your portfolio to make you money? Or is it something else entirely, like a ticket for a front row seat to humanity's journey into the future? It's a wild idea for sure, but the craziest part is the foundations for this empire might be getting built right now, right under our noses.